Ministry fam. I am here again for another Sunday So What with our incredible summer interns, where we break down and recap Drew's message from this morning. But before we really get into it, I thought it'd be fun to do another fun question for our interns. So our question today for you guys is, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what food would that be?
Okay. I'm gonna go with pasta because there are a billion different ways. There's Alfredo, there's spaghetti, there's ramen, there's ponzu, which is also peanut dish, you can throw in there, but you never would get bored, so.
Ooh, I would say pizza because one, I love pizza and probably eat it every Friday anyway. And so good, you could have as many toppings as you want, so.
I'll probably go with potatoes, just because you can make so many different meals from it. You can get as fancy as a baked potato all the way down to potato chips for those lazy Saturdays.
I would say beef. I'm a big fan of barbecue, so you can make briskets all the way to T-bones and hamburgers. So I'm gonna go with beef.
Honestly, I'm kind of just hungry now. So yeah, good answers, y'all. So last week we started a new series with Drew called Love Thy Neighborhood. And so basically what we talked about, right, is what does it look like for us to love our neighbors, and what does it look like for us to draw near to them? Because you can't love your neighbor if you don't know them. And so the action point for that, right, was to go out, meet people, whether that's in your neighborhood, the grocery store, wherever that is, and know people, know their story, and love them. And so this morning we continued that, and we talked about the parable and the story of the Good Samaritan. So Haley, do you mind reading for us this morning?
Of course. So we're in Luke 10, verse 25 is where we're gonna start. Luke 10. So Luke 10:25 says, "One day an expert in religious law stood up to test Jesus by asking him this question: 'Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life?' Jesus replied, 'What does the law of Moses say? How do you read it?' The man answered, 'You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself.' 'Right,' Jesus told him, 'do this and you will live.' The man wanted to justify his actions, so he asked Jesus, 'And who is my neighbor?' Jesus replied with this story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and left him for dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed on the other side of the road and passed him by. A Levite walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side. Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, 'Take care of this man. If his bill runs higher, I will pay the next time I'm here.' Now, which of these 3 would you say proved to be a neighbor to this man?" Jesus asked. The man replied, "The one who showed him mercy." Then Jesus said, "Yes, now go and do the same."
Awesome. Thanks, Hale. All right, y'all. So the first question I want to ask you this morning, similar to what we asked last week, right, was what was your main takeaway from this morning's message?
I think for me, in terms of loving my neighbor, something that I really like is normally when I think of loving my neighbor, my first kind of inclination is to think of just people in my community. I think it's super easy for us just to go out and reach those people because you're super close and those are the people you're surrounded with. But in reality, your neighbor means every single person. And so it's so much harder to broaden that, but that's what Jesus calls us to do, and that's what he did. But more than that, loving your neighbor is an ongoing commitment. And so just like the Samaritan king, he didn't just help the man out and kind of just take him to the inn, but he paid for him and he cared for him. And so going that extra mile of really just loving them well, no matter like how much that costs you, but sacrificially loving them, no matter how hard it may be or how much they even may push back at first. But it's that true love that Jesus shows us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think similarly for me, I thought when Drew asked the question, "Are you interruptible?" I was like, "Oh, I'm a Plan B person, yeah." But really, a lot of my Plan Bs are things that I want to do and what I selfishly want, and not because God brings people into my life that I can serve. And so I'm trying to look this week for ways that I can be interrupted. And so that's what I took away.
I'd say my main takeaway was when Drew talked about showing mercy. Just like how the Samaritans showed mercy to the man that was beaten and robbed on the side of the road. Showing mercy is filling a need for a person that is in need. That need could be anywhere from, hey, can I borrow a pen? All the way up to, I'm going to sacrifice the rest of my day to make sure that this man lives and stays alive like the Samaritan did.
Yeah. One thing that Drew said that really stuck out to me, he talked about compassion. He said compassion is empathy and action. And that really stuck out to me because oftentimes we can say, oh, I really feel bad for that guy, but we don't do anything about it. But other times we just do actions showing love just to justify our love, not actually having that empathy and that feeling in our heart.
Yeah, I like that. So what does it look like for us to justify ourselves when it comes to loving others today? Kind of like the lawyer did in the story.
I think as I was reading it, I was like, oh, that lawyer is the worst. But really, I was really convicted because I do that all the time. And so like I've grown up with a private school, great family. I know the Bible. But like Drew said, that means nothing if you're not willing to act it out. And so I was really convicted because a lot of times I go through the motions and like know stuff, but I don't actually like go out and live out and love on others. And so that was one thing that I was like, convicted, because I'm like, even though I know the Bible verses, that doesn't justify if I'm not doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I would think, building off of that, the other way around, we can do all these things, all these like good deeds as much as we want, but if it's not like in our heart, if we truly don't love them, like if we get to see a homeless man on the side of the street and we give them a $5 bill just to make us like feel good, like that we did right, it means nothing if we don't actually love them and we're doing it out of our heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So what can we and our students do to draw near to our neighbors well right now, and why is that important?
Yeah, I think I would say that other point, like Noah was saying earlier, empathy also attached to action is loving people. And so I think it can be really easy to just kind of reach out to someone once and then let it kind of go, but really trying to be intentional of having those relationships and having empathy, but also putting that action behind that, checking up on them continually and really trying to love them sacrificially and giving your time up and whatever it is that they need. It might just mean you're there listening to them, but it depends on the person, but just really trying to love them the best that you can, and putting aside your own feelings and maybe your own selfish desires to put them first, especially right now because it's a hard time for a lot of people. So
I would say one thing that we could do is really just to love on each other and just everybody, not just the people we know, but everybody around us. Because like Drew says repeatedly, everybody is our neighbor. And like one of the things that Drew said, we don't get to choose who our neighbors are, so that means that we don't get to choose who to be kind to. Kindness goes a long way, and kindness really does make the world go round and show everybody how great of a place it really is.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Y'all keep killing it every week. I love it. So what we would encourage you guys, right, is this is almost like a process, right? Last week we talked about, okay, who are my neighbors? How do I get to know them? What does that look like? And now it's putting action to that step. So you know your neighbor, you know their story. So what are you going to do next? And how are you going to meet a need? And there are needs all around you. And like these incredible interns said, right? Like you have so many neighbors and they all have different needs. And I don't feel the pressure like you have to meet all these needs, but one person can make a huge difference. And we don't want you to forget that. But what we also want you to know is that we love you, we miss you, and like we're here, we're supporting you, we want to help you any way we can. Exciting news. This Wednesday, our live stream is back at 7 o'clock. It is our summer intern edition of our live stream. We are so excited. We have some fun things planned, so definitely join us for that. And on top of that, tomorrow we start a new reading plan chosen by the one, the only, Haley Darby.
Read it.
So don't let her down, guys. Get on there. Join us for that reading. Tell us your thoughts at the end of it. Because y'all keep killing it every week. We want to hear what God's teaching you and stuff like that. But yes, we love you. We miss you. And we are excited to kick off this summer with you guys. And we hopefully will see you